Alright, what is up, guys? And today we will be starting up the 737-800 in X-Plane 12 from the cold and dark scenario. So to start off, we just need to turn on our battery and standby power on, our propy and hydraulics on, and then we need to turn on our APU bleed, and we need to start our APU. Then we need to turn on both our left and right wing fuel pumps, and we need to turn on our yaw damper. Now we need to toggle the ground handling window and call the GPU, or ground power unit for short. Then we can just wait for that to come. Now, as you can see, both the ground power unit and the APU have started, so we're going to go ahead and turn on our ground power unit and our seatbelt sign. And then we can just clear a bunch of this stuff off of the navigation display because we don't necessarily need that. Now it's time to set up our FMC or FMS. It's either way. So you have to enter your departure code, ICAO code, and you need to set up your arrival code. For me, I'm going to Los Angeles to Seattle. And then we need to enter a flight number, which I'm just going to do random. Then we need to hit that execute button. And then we can set up our departure and arrival. So we need to go. So I'm just going to choose 24 left because that's the one I want. And then we can just choose a bunch of stuff because I'm just doing this for time's sake. I want this video to be super long. And then, yeah, just a bunch of stuff for Seattle to press the execute button. Then we can go into our legs page. Then if you see the discontinuity sign right there, what you can do, so like basically the discontinuity, so you can click the waypoint right after the discontinuity, and then you can press that to the discontinuity so it fixes the gap between the two. And then we can go and put our engine 1 and 2 mixtures to idle. And then now we need to switch from the ground power to our APU. And then, so basically we need our logo, position, and anti-collision lights on. And then we can now dismiss the GPU and call for our pushback. And I'm just going to do the straight pushback. And then we can now verify that we are all ready for engine start. And then once it says that the pushback is on the way, we just have to wait for the pushback tractor to come. And then we can switch. So on our engine 1 starter, ignition, we can switch that to GRD or ground. And then as you can see, the numbers on the lower engine panel are getting higher and higher for engine 1. That means that the engine is starting. Then as you can see on the higher panel, as the numbers start going up faster, that basically just means that the engine is now fully starting. And once it hits about 15, that means that the engine is ready for use, and we can turn the generator 1 on so that we don't have to rely on the APU to keep our electronics on. And then we can do the same for engine 2. And you can see the same thing happening with the numbers. And we can see our pushback tractor coming to lock onto our wheels. And then as the pushback tractor locks onto our wheels, it'll ask us to, like release our parking brake, which we need to do. And then we can then just start our generator 2 because the engine 2 startup has completed. And then now we can just wait for the pushback tracker to push us back, and we can turn our APU off and our APU bleed off and just basically rely on our engines and turn our engine 1 and 2 bleed on. And then now we can just prep for taxi. We need our taxi light on that kind of medium setting and all of the other lights as is already shown. And then now we can just wait for our pushback tractor to finish pushing us back. Then once it pushes us back and it has stopped that sequence, we can put our parking brake back on just in case we need to prep for, let's just say, any other taxi preparations that we didn't quite get done during the pushback. Okay, that is it. And make sure to subscribe to the Patreon so that I can do more videos like this. See ya.